welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Machado Garry versus Prates. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. But yeah, if you can remember, I did make a video, this same video before, but I told you that video was early predictions and not my final prediction, and I said it multiple times in that video. But this is my final prediction. So I'm not making another full card prediction video for this card. Some fights probably going to fall out. Some new changes going to happen there and there. And I'll make some little quick picks and I'll attach them and post them here and there. But as far as a full-on video for this card in particular, this is the last video. And all of these predictions are to be taken as final predictions. I'm not going to come back and make no edits on fights that are in this video. Again, unless some fights fall out. And then I'll make little side videos to accommodate those fight changes. But again, for these fights right here, these are my final prediction, unlike that other video. The other video was just early picks. These are my actual picks. Now, I only think there's only going to be like one real change. But first fight we have in the women's bantamweight division, we got Chelsea Chandler versus Jocelyn Edwards. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Jocelyn Edwards to beat Chelsea Chandler. Chandler does have the size. She can push a pace that can make it tough for Edwards, but I think Edwards will be able to eke it out. I feel like she's getting better and evolving. She's like 27, 28. Chandler's 34. And also, Chandler might struggle to make the weight, and if she does make the weight, could see that affecting her cardio and her ability to really move and, fight the way she wants to fight. So I'll go with a fighter who has been establishing herself at 35, taking her bumps and bruises and improving. I do not like the takedown defense of Edwards and how she deals with pressure at times, but I do think at this point she's at a good point to fight Chandler. I think she'll be able to make the adjustments, show the growth, probably be able to mix in her own takedowns at points, and just be the more active fighter here and be able to beat Chandler to a decision. But probably a close, ugly split decision, but a win for Edwards nonetheless. So in this one, I got Jocelyn Edwards via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, we got Timmy Cuamba versus Roberto Romero. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Roberto Romero to beat Timmy Cuamba. I do feel like Timmy Cuamba is the better talent, more technical fighter, but it just has not been enough. Roberto Romero came in short notice, got a big step up in competition in David Onama, and he was nearly finishing him in the first round. But Onama was able to rally and nearly finish Romero several times in the fight. But Romero, what I like in this fight over Cuamba is Cuamba has been outworked in all of his fights. Like, he's been outworked in his Contender Series fights. He's been outworked in both of his UFC fights. And I just can't pick a favorite. Well, no, he's a dog. I can't pick a dog who has been getting outworked in every single fight. But I do like him more technically. But again, I just have not really seen that bite. Have not seen that effort from him. He definitely showed heart and toughness in the last fight. He got rocks over time, but he kept fighting throughout. But haven't seen that ability to really come back from behind. Haven't seen that ability where he's the one doing more work than his opponent. I feel like he's been getting outworked in the striking, in the grappling, just overall by all of his opponents. They've been outlanding him. And that's kind of a hard place for me to pick him. Like, I'm definitely not saying that Romero was like a betting angle, but I like the guy in a fight like this who's going to have, more dog in him. I feel like Roberto Romero has more dog in this one. Cuamba a little more tactical, but Romero has a lot more dog, so I got to go with Roberto Romero to look to press more. And then when it comes down to the clutch, I feel like Roberto Romero is going to be the one pushing more, and I see him edging out a split decision over Cuamba. So in this one, I have Roberto Romero via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the women's strawweight division, we got Jacqueline Amorim versus Poliana Viana. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Jacqueline Amorim to beat Poliana Viana. And I feel like Amorim is just a better overall fighter than Poliana Viana, and she's much more motivated, much more locked in. Viana don't know where her head at. She don't know if she want to be on Twitter all the time. She don't know if she wants to be Nina Drama. She don't know if she wants to be a girlfriend to a UFC fighter. She don't know what she want to be. She don't know if she want to be on social media. With Amorim's locked in, and even despite all that stuff, Amorim's already a better fighter. I think she hits harder, cleaner striker. Maybe got to worry about the condition a little bit, but I feel like she got that fight behind her, and she's been improving on that. But I feel, again, she could beat her on the feet, she could beat her on the ground, but I'll say she'll be the clutch, touch her on the feet with some power, get a hold of Viana, drag her to the mat, ground and pound her, transition to a dominant position, more ground and pound, pep her up, then set up the submission and get Viana out of there in the very first round. So in this one, I have Jacqueline Amorim via first round. Why didn't he not working? Via first round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, we got Cameron Saaiman versus Malcolm Wellmaker. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Cameron Saaiman to beat Malcolm Wellmaker. So initially, this is the only pick that has changed. Originally, it was Wellmaker on the early prediction video, but now the actual prediction video, I've shifted my pick to Cameron Saaiman. So if it come back to bite me, it is what it is. But go with Cameron Saaiman, especially given how the year has been going for undefeated fighters and these Contender Series fighters, even though they're both Contender Series fighters. But yeah, Saaiman here. Wellmaker is undefeated. Undefeated fighters are like 8-20 this year. Not a good record. Wellmaker has not fought the level of competition that Saaiman has fought or beaten, to be honest. And then we look at who Saaiman has lost to. He lost to Peyton Talbot, who's still one of the brighter prospects, contenders, young fighters at this weight class. And he lost to Christian Rodriguez, who's a very solid fighter. And, has a very good track record at fighting against these young, undefeated faces at featherweight and bantamweight. He beat Raul Rosas Jr. He beat Saaiman. He just beat that guy not too long ago at featherweight. So he has a tendency to beat those guys. And again, it's not just the fact that he's good at beating young guys. He's a real good young fighter himself, Christian Rodriguez. Good striker, good grappler, good overall fighter. And that's a tough matchup for these young undefeated fighters. And Saaiman gave him a good fight. It was not like he ran through Saaiman. Saaiman gave him a better fight than Raul Rosas Jr. did, to be honest. Raul Rosas Jr. came out hot early, but then he faded and was getting whooped like for 10 minutes straight, pretty much. Saaiman was behind, but he was pushing the whole fight and making Christian Rodriguez had to fight the whole point. And also in that fight, Rodriguez came in overweight, so another thing to factor in. But yeah, Wellmaker, I wasn't super high on him going into the Contender Series fight. The finish was good, but I feel like even watching that fight, I feel like he was getting touched up more than his opponent. Now, at the end of the fight, he only landed one more significant strike, so that even points to because you had to drop your opponent to hit him with some ground and pound, so you probably landed like 3-4 shots in the finish, and you were only up by like one strike after everything was said and done. So that points to the fact that the other guy was outlanding you up until you cornered him. So yeah, but Saaiman again, he has only lost to elite competition, and he's still young himself. Wellmaker, also nothing. Wellmaker is like 30-31. He's like born I think 94, so he's in his 30s, and Saaiman's still like 26, 27, maybe 25. I'm not gonna quote that, but I know he's definitely not 30. He's definitely not even 28. So he's 27 or younger. Saaiman is versus a 31-year-old Wellmaker who's undefeated, come on Contender Series, and has not fought the same level of competition that he's fought. I can see Saaiman actually getting the stoppage here, but I'll say decision. I think that experience against that elite competition in Talbot, elite competition in Rodriguez, and he had some other good fighters he fought as well, but particularly those losses that he fought, he'll learn from it with Wellmaker. And also he's younger and he could grow from it, where I feel like Wellmaker's at this point. Also, let me say this also kind of reminds me of the Guru fight, where Guru was like 30-31, undefeated, coming in there, versus a guy that, maybe was kind of middling or kind of looking like he was about to be out of the UFC. But, and like Odi Osborne, kind of similar situation, or the Riz McKee fight. We got this guy that's coming hot off the Contender Series with a finish or a great performance, and they go in against a guy that, they supposedly supposed to walk over. Like Guru was supposed to walk over Osborne. The other guy was supposed to walk over, Frunzo was supposed to walk over Riz McKee and such. And they get upset. And there was another guy, it's been, Masaso was supposed to do this. I feel like it's the same template. And like, how many times you going to fall for the same? I was able to capitalize on Riz McKee, but some of these other ones, I bit the bait. But I feel like Saaiman, I'm not super impressed with Wellmaker. And I feel like Wellmaker, I can say a whole bunch of stuff. I'm getting off track. But basically, Saaiman's fought better competition. He's younger, could grow. Wellmaker has not fought the same level of competition. I think Saaiman, this is a spot where Saaiman is going to be able to show, yeah, I took some losses, but I got better from that. And I was already better. And I think Cameron Saaiman is going to be the better overall fighter. And I think that experience is also going to be better because he's fought better competition, has better experience. And I think that will allow him to beat Wellmaker. I think he'll be able to out-grapple Wellmaker. I think he'll be able to out-pace him, out-strike him, and not be so open to the counters for Wellmaker. I think if he can address the counters of Wellmaker and push the pace, I think he can do a good job to shut Wellmaker off and potentially stop him, but I'll say decision. So in this one, I got Cameron Saaiman via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, we got Damon Blackshear versus Alatengheili. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Damon Blackshear to beat Alatengheili. And yeah, Alatengheili, he's a powerhouse, but I just feel like Damon Blackshear is overall better. I think he's stronger. I think he's bigger. I think he's a better striker. I think he's a better grappler. Kind of struggling to see where Alatengheili wins here. Like, maybe if he could tough enough, he can push a pace. But I don't feel like Alatengheili really pushes such a crazy pace. So even there, I don't see it. So I really see this one. I just think Damon Blackshear, again, is the better overall fighter here. I think he'll be outstrike him, mixing the grappling, and I see a second round sub for Damon Blackshear. So in this one, I got Damon Blackshear via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Chris Gutierrez versus Zhang Castaneda. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Zhang Castaneda to beat Chris Gutierrez. I think this is a very evenly matched fight right here. Gutierrez is definitely the better overall striker, but I think Castaneda is going to do a better job of pressuring and mixing up the martial arts. Like he's going to look to strike, look to touch him with big shots, apply heavy pressure, and look to mix in the takedown attempts. Now I feel like Gutierrez's takedown attempts, defense is all that great. His TDD is not all that great. It's not all that bad, but it's not all that great. I think Castaneda can get some success off the takedowns. And then another thing that Gutierrez does, I feel like he watches his work too much. And a lot of times he steps off the gas. In a fight like this that could be that competitive, he could give up a crucial takedown. He could take off some crucial minutes and allow Castaneda to pressure him too much and land some clean shots. And in a fight that could be very close and come down to the third round or come down to who won a close second round and be like one wins the first, Castaneda win the third, second round's up for grabs. And then that second round you might have got lax. That third round you might have got lax. Or both of those rounds you might have got lax. You might gave up a takedown. You might have gave up a couple strikes. I feel like Castaneda can edge it in a close fight, close split decision. Just, pushing the pace more and mixing up more. Whereas Gutierrez is going to be looking to, mostly throw the stick move, throw the flashy strikes. Whereas Castaneda going to apply constant pressure and look to mix the takedowns, look to land the bigger shots. And again, not look to give Gutierrez any type of space the whole fight. So Gutierrez can't fight to his strength. And in that type of fight, I think it goes to a very close split decision that Castaneda gets the slight nod. So in this one, I got Zhang Castaneda via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Ahmad Hassanzada versus Evan Elder. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Evan Elder to beat Ahmad Hassanzada. And the main thing for me that causes issue here is Hassanzada, like his wrestling and his pacing. That could be an issue. But I think at 55, I think Evan Elder will do a good job of being able to defend grappler of the level of Hassanzada. I think he'll be the cleaner, slicker striker, quicker fighter, and the more technical striker here. I think Hassanzada is very open on the feet at all times. I can see Evan Elder dropping Hassanzada a couple times, then Hassanzada, recovering, trying to go aggressively for some takedowns. I think Evan Elder can do a good job of maybe keeping Hassanzada to 2 takedowns or less, and maybe like 3 minutes of control time or less, maybe probably like 4 minutes of control time or less, with Evan Elder doing the more consistent damage throughout the fight, and that being the difference in him getting his, the hand raised. And I think it's a pretty clear decision. 29-20. Well, it has to be 29-28. It can't be anything less because that'd be a draw or loss. But yeah, but somebody Evan Elder will do a good job of addressing the grappling, and I think he'll do a good job of exploiting the openness of Hassanzada on the feet. So, and I see it going distance. So, in this one, I have Evan Elder via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Jimmy Flick to beat Matt Schnell. So I'm going to do MMA calculus here. Jimmy Flick has never lost by submission. He has like 16 wins by submission. So as far as submission thing, he's 16-0 as far as submissions. Most of his losses have been by TKO. As far as you're saying, like 3 of them, 3 TKO losses and like 1 decision loss. His most recent loss was a decision loss. I think Schnell has about 2 decision wins and no TKO wins inside the UFC. So he has two decision wins in the UFC. He had like 3 submission wins and no TKO wins. So the primary path to beating Flick in the UFC, Schnell has not been able to do that in his career. And now he's like an older flyweight. So the chances of that happening are even lower. Schnell has shown questionable IQ. He also is coming off a submission loss to Durden, who Flick submitted. And Schnell is a decent favorite. I think he opened up as a crazy big favorite, but the line's kind of... matter of fact, the line's going up again. At first it was going down. Like, he was getting going from 200 to plus 190. But now I think he's back to plus 240. So it's going up. It's shifting. But I think right now it's going back up. But yeah, Schnell's a big favorite, undeservedly. Been contemplating retirement. Came out of retirement, lost. So I don't know where his head is at. And even then he's made questionable decisions. He was doing good against Roy Val on the feet. Then he took it to the ground, got submitted. Was doing better on the feet against Durden. Was getting his momentum on the feet against Durden. Shot a takedown, got submitted. So Schnell is definitely accustomed to doing well on the feet, then choosing to mix up the grappling and getting submitted. So I can see that happening here. I think Flick is, and also Flick showed much more durability in his last fight. Flick like took a lot of good punches from a fighter who was big for the weight class and hits hard, and was able to stay in the fight. And also shot some good takedowns, got some good takedowns. So I can see Flick getting his own takedowns. But either way, I see Schnell making some questionable decisions out there. And Flick, again, having 16 subs in his career, been the better submission grappler, and having a win over the guy by submission who most recently submitted Schnell. And Schnell making another glaring error, initiating grappling, and Flick fully taking advantage of that and tapping Schnell out. And I see that happening in the second round. So, in this one, I got Jimmy Flick via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going Ikram Aliskerov lock confidence to beat Andre Muniz. And yeah, I think Ikram Aliskerov is the better overall fighter. I'm not really high on Muniz at all. His takedown offense is not that good. Takedown defense is not all that good. Pretty solid top grappling. He has some okay bottom jiu-jitsu as well, but primarily a top grappling. Aliskerov clearly has real good takedown defense. That was what we know about him before anything, like how he was defending Khamzat Chimaev's takedown. So that's the first thing we knew about him, for real. So he'll definitely be able to defend the takedowns of Muniz. Muniz is definitely a quitter. So I think Ikram Aliskerov will be able to pick him apart. Matter of fact, I'm going to say a first round TKO. I was thinking second round TKO, but I see a first round TKO. I think Muniz is going to try his best to try to survive and skate by, but I think Aliskerov will give him no place to survive, no space to breathe. I think he picks apart Muniz and put him away in the first. Like I can see him hurt him on the feet, or Muniz trying to pull guard. Aliskerov for a second there, like, should I follow him to the ground or not? Should I give him the opportunity? And then I could beat him here too. Then follow him to the ground, pick him apart, and not allow him to breathe. Just drop the ground and pound on him and put Muniz out in the first round. So in this one, I have Ikram Aliskerov via first round TKO. A lot of fights on this card. Now, to the next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Randy Brown to beat Nicholas Dalby. And a fight between two veterans. I think Randy Brown is the better striker. And I think at this point, Nicholas Dalby is not a guy that's going to really get a lot of takedowns. I think Randy Brown's takedown defense has improved a lot. So I think he'll be able to address the takedowns of Dalby. And as far as Dalby's style, he kind of moved like a veteran style. He tried to mix in the strike, and he tried to wall and stall you. And I think at this point, and really stylistic-wise, that's not really Randy Brown's issue. So Dalby's not a big power puncher. Not a super great striker at this level, especially compared to Randy Brown. Randy Brown's a better striker. He's longer. He's not like a muscle-bound guy that's looking at those big overhands going gas after 20 strikes thrown. So Randy Brown got cardio. He's long. He's slender and strong. So Dalby's going to try that style, but I think Randy Brown's going to be able to pick him apart at distance. Then when Dalby gets inside, I think Brown going to do a good job of turning Dalby on the cage, land his own low elbows and knees in there, disengage, and just pick apart Dalby for a decision. I can see a stoppage for Randy Brown. I can even see a sub for Randy Brown. But basically, I just feel like Randy Brown is built well and in a good position in his career to deal with the style that Dalby has. Again, if Randy Brown was like this greenhorn guy, Dalby would be all on him. Or if Randy Brown was like another veteran, but low output, power striker that Dalby could wrestle up and wall and stall, and they be gassed after a couple wall and stall and then missing a couple punches. Yeah, that'll be good. But Randy Brown could throw 100 strikes, 100 plus strikes, and be good. Could do the clinch battle and be good. A lot of times Randy Brown does that himself. So Randy Brown is more than capable to deal with the style that Dalby has, and I think he's just a better fighter overall. And stylistically wise, I like his style and build here to deal with what Dalby is bringing. So in this one, I got Randy Brown via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov in the middleweight division. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Michel Pereira to beat Abus Magomedov. Abus showed some more wrinkles in his last fight, but different styles. I think Michel Pereira is a better striker. I think he's better over the rounds. I think he has a takedown defense to deal with Magomedov. And I think it'll be too quick, too sharp. Be just landing some teeth into Magomedov's body and attack that gas tank, pressure him, and get Magomedov out of there in the first round. Yeah, I'll say first round. Could go to an ugly decision, but I'll say first round TKO for Michel Pereira. I think Pereira is faster, more tactical, better striker. It's not like, if I would say Magomedov was a guy who would beat Pereira, I feel like his gas tank himself had to be a lot better, his pressure had to be a lot better, his volume a lot pressure, but that's stuff that is a weakness of a boost. His volume isn't that high. his pressure isn't that good, especially after the first round. His chain wrestling isn't that good. He's still alive here, but I do like Michel Pereira a lot better here. And that's because Abus is not going to apply the style that's going to give Michel Pereira issue. Where I could see Michel Pereira, he's definitely going to pressure a lot. Definitely going to be quicker. Definitely going to mix a lot more. Sharper. And I can see him implementing a style that's going to cause Abus issues more than I can see Abus implementing a style that's going to cause Pereira's issue. But nonetheless, a competitive fight, but I think Pereira gets it done in round 1. So in this one, I have Michel Pereira via first round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. And how do I feel about this one right here? So going low confidence Giga. Let me just blow my nose. Yeah. But it's okay. We family. We family on this channel. But yeah, Giga Chikadze, low confidence to beat David Onama. I feel like Giga Chikadze is a much better striker than David Onama. With David Onama, better hands probably. Definitely more power in his hands. But I think Giga Chikadze would do a good job of sticking and moving. He caused Arnold Allen a lot of issue in their fight. Arnold Allen took a while to get to him. And it's not like Onama cuts the cage off that well. It's not like Onama has the best defense or the most durable. Like, he got some good combinations at times. He definitely has a lot of power at all times, but I think Giga Chikadze will be able to deal with that and now allow himself to really be touched by that power of Onama so much, or it be so available. Because, again, Giga Chikadze is a very high-level striker. It's not like Onama has shown great offensive wrestling or great offensive grappling. And I think Giga Chikadze will be able to stick and move, walk him into shots, land him with stepping side kicks, keep him honest with those high kicks so Onama can't really load up as much, chew up his legs, chew up his guard. So, like, again, he can't load up on power as much. He can't plant as much. And again, just stick and move and keep Onama guessing. And it's not like Onama has had such great performances. Really, 2 of those fights he's fought recently, he could have lost. Gabriel Silva was picking him apart until he caught him. But Gabriel Silva only got caught because he was so aggressive. Like, he was in pocket, just picking apart Onama. Got a little too comfortable when he got knocked out. Chikadze's not going to fight you in the pocket. Chikadze is more of a distance striker. And again, Onama's not a guy that's great at cutting the cage off. And then his last fight against Roberto Romero, who he had no business getting picked apart by. He was getting dropped by him. So what great performance has Onama had recently? A lot of his performance has looked very terrible against not the best competition. Where Chikadze has been fighting elite competition like Calvin Katers and the Arnold Allen of the world. Even Caceres is a much higher level fighter than anyone that Onama has been fighting as of late. So, yeah. I think Giga Chikadze would be the better striker, do a good job of sticking and moving and not allow Onama to plant as much, shooting the inside leg, outside leg, throwing the high kicks, sticking with the jab when Onama looks to try to throw overhands and just cut angles and just not be there for Onama to hit. I could see a stoppage for Chikadze, but I'll say decision. But I feel like Onama wins. I feel like it's definitely going to be by stoppage, so maybe play that way. But if you would have played that way, like Onama by KO or Chikadze by decision or something, but we'll see. But as far as prediction-wise, going Giga Chikadze to win here by decision. So, in this one, I have Giga Chikadze via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, we got Anthony Smith versus Miyang Zhang. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Miyang Zhang to beat Anthony Smith. And Smith is a very solid fighter. He's definitely got his life upset, but he's firmly saying he's retiring after this fight. His head's clearly not in. I think didn't his trainer die or something happened. But anyway, his head is clearly not in the game no more. He's clearly retiring. So retiring, his head's not in the game. Miyang Zhang is clearly one of the fighters that could evolve to be one of the, the future stars of this division or future standouts of this division, like future gatekeeper at least, like a top 5, top 7, probably like top 5 gatekeeper at light heavyweight at least. So a guy that at least got perspective, whereas Smith, is already pretty much mentally checked out and retired. And I think Miyang Zhang definitely has the skill and the power to press Smith, address the takedowns if Smith try to go there, and look to touch Smith with some power. I see Smith curling up and getting put out of there in the first round. So, in this one, I have Miyang Zhang via first round TKO. Now to our main event, we have in the welterweight division, we got Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Carlos Prates to beat Ian Machado Garry. It's just hard to deny the momentum of the Fighting Nerds. They're like 14-0 in the UFC. I think Prates is like 3-0, 4-0. And it's not like Garry has looked all that phenomenal. Like, Garry has beat better competition because he's been around longer, maybe like a year or two more. But they fought a lot of the same competition. Like, Garry fought better competition, but who has he really beat? Jeff Neal, which would be the best win for Prates if he did. But then again, Jeff Neal lost to Neil Magny. They both beat Neil Magny, but Prates stopped Neil Magny. Garry, the Jeff Neal fight wasn't a good fight for Garry, to be honest. It wasn't a great performance. He got past him, but it was like actually a very close fight in my opinion. And I picked Garry. He was struggling with the pressure of Jeff Neal. He was struggling with Jeff Neal trying to beat some takedowns. Just all around, just struggling with Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal was landing clean shots on him and pressure him. And the Shavkat fight, he just looked shut down. And then, like, who else he beat? Daniel Rodriguez. Good fighter, but nothing to be bragging about. You like, at this level, you should not be bragging about beating Daniel Rodriguez. That's not a good win. He beat him as best you could, but it's not a win to brag about. And then Jeff Neal and Shavkat Rakhmonov in Magny. Prates stopped Magny. Garry didn't. So he might have little issues with Magny for like 2-3 minutes or so, but then by the end of the round, he knocked Magny out, so it is what it is. So who has Garry really beat that's so much different? Like, you can say he fought Shavkat to a close fight, kind of. But other than that, like, and also he got dropped by Keenan Song. You can say, oh, Prates did this, Prates did that. But Prates ain't been dropped in the UFC. He hasn't had like this bad form. I don't think he even went to a decision yet. He's been knocking everybody out. So he hasn't had this fight. Oh, he had a close fight with this guy. He had no big close fight. He had some filling out process in some of these fights for like a minute or two. But ultimately, he's been knocking everybody out like pretty quick, like first or second round. Which could be bad here for a 5-round fight. And Garry could definitely look to try to wall and stall him, drag him to the deep end. But I think Prates, just as John Silva and so many of the other fighting nerds have shown, like, that grappling is pretty solid. Prates hasn't had to show it yet. It might not have looked as perfect as y'all have wanted to work, but at the end of the day, he got the job done. It's not like Garry's some super great offensive wrestler. It's not like Prates hasn't seen Garry's style and what he looked to do. So he's going to be game to what Garry's going to try to do. Garry's going to like to fight on the outside, hands low, try those check hooks and stuff. Try to, mix up the kicks, the body kicks and the high kicks, the switch kicks and whatnot. And Prates going to be game to it. And he's going to look to how do you beat a guy like that? You close the distance. And when you close that distance, Garry's chin is wide up in the air. We've seen him get touched multiple times by Jeff Neal. We've seen him get dropped by Keenan Song. And then Prates is going to look to exploit that opening. Whereas Garry, for the most part in this fight, he's going to have to try to look to wall and stall Prates at points, throw a bunch of high kicks. He's going to have to play the game on hard mode, whereas Prates' approach is going to be simpler. If I can get past that distance, there's a pot of gold sitting right there on a swivel. The chin up in the air, hands always low. If I can bring a shot over the top, around the corner, down the middle, it's going to be there all day if I could get past the kicks. And it's not like Prates is a shorter fighter. He's not an older fighter. Both these guys are young in their prime. Prates got a lot of power. And I think he'll be able to close that gap, find Garry's chin, and put him out, I'm going to say, second round TKO for Prates. I think he upsets Garry and gets a win here. But obviously, I'm not saying this is locked by no means. You sounded so confident. It's a low confidence between two high-level competitors, two young in their prime high-level competitors. But I got to go Prates, especially with the momentum of the fighting nerds. I like his power. And I like the stylistic matchup for him. I think he can pull it out. See a second round TKO for Prates. And that's my prediction for that one. So in this one, I have Carlos Prates via second round TKO. And so that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Machado Garry versus Prates. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.